Jeff, and today we wanted to speak about dreams and to be able to be dreaming and be building. And sometimes you just dream, but you're not able to build. Other times you just build but can't dream. And a lot of people know you as a founder, as a builder, but the reality, and I've been fortunate to know part of that reality well, is the inventor. And Amazon was an invention. Mm-hmm. Blue Origin is an invention. And there are many inventions that you've been making, and that's what really is interesting for you. How can you make sure that as you invent, and one of the main topics that we've discussed is how it's important to wonder, mm-hmm. how it's important to explore. Mm-hmm. But as you invent and you wonder, how were you able not to get lost?
Well, that is such a good question, and really my best thing, my favorite thing, is to be with a small group of people with a big whiteboard in front of me and inventing. I am an inventor. This is my fundamental nature. And I remember one time, we had an executive at Amazon for many, many years, a guy named Jeff Wilke, who was instrumental in the success of the company. We've been gifted with a large number of fantastic executives, including Diego Piacentini, who I think might be in the audience somewhere. And thank you, Diego. Diego's contributions to Amazon are legendary.
And to Vento, too. Thank you, Diego.
And so one day in the early days, because I literally put me in front of a whiteboard and I can come up with 100 ideas in half an hour. And early in Amazon's history, Jeff Wilke came to me one day. He worked for Amazon for a quarter of a century, but this is when he probably knew me only for a year. And he said, "Jeff, you have enough ideas to destroy Amazon." And this was such a shocking idea for me. As a founder, I had the great luxury of always being able to hire my tutors. They would hire these experienced senior executives, brilliant people like Diego and Jeff Wilke, and there were several others too. And I would listen to them, and they would teach me. And Jeff said, "You have enough ideas per minute, per day, per week to destroy Amazon." I was like, what do you mean? He's like, "You have to release the work at the right rate that the organization can accept it." And he was a manufacturing expert, and so his view of the world was every time I released an idea, I was creating a backlog, a queue, work in process. And because it was just stacking up, it was adding no value, and in fact, it was creating distraction. And so he said, "Look, you have to figure out when to release these new ideas at a rate that the organization can accept them." And this sounds so obvious, but it was not obvious at the time to me. And this was a profound insight for me. And so I started prioritizing the ideas better, keeping lists of them, keeping them to myself until the organization was ready for the ideas. And then I also started figuring out, how can I build an organization that can be ready for more ideas? That's about having the right senior team and the right leadership and getting those people the executive bandwidth so that they could do more ideas per unit time. And so, and that is what we built. We built a company that's very good at inventing and doing more than one thing at a time. And you do want to build, as the company gets bigger, you do want to be able to do more than one thing at a time. But that idea of releasing the work was very profound for me. And it made us operationally more effective while still being inventive.
And you think you're a better inventor on the back of that? So the actual inventions that...
Probably because it also forces you, if you are releasing the ideas through time, it forces you to prioritize them better. You end up sharpening the ideas better. And so, yeah, it probably does. But you have to wander. Thank you. Wandering, just one more thing on wandering. Wandering is so important because wandering is a kind of humility. So sometimes when people think about, how much should I wander? Wandering sounds so inefficient. But the only way to go straight to your destination is if you know where you're going. And sometimes you know where you're going, but sometimes you don't. And so wandering is that acknowledgement that in life and in business and in exploration and in invention, in building a company, a lot of the time you can see the mountaintop, but you can't see the trail. And you have to explore, and you have to wander. It may feel very inefficient, but it's actually very valuable. And it's really a recognition, it's a humility that you don't know where you're going.
But inventing, inventing has a dose that is not efficient. And it does require time to get ideas, to learn.
Yes.
To dream.
Yes.
On the other hand, you need to be efficient once you start building that.
That's right.
And iterate.
These are different things for different times. Sometimes when you know where you're going, yes, you should be very efficient.
So how to put it in harmony and not balancing? And I know you don't like to balance.
Right.
And so how can you put in harmony the dream side and the build side?
And by the way, just to fill that out a little, I don't love the word balance because it implies a trade-off. Like I've often had people ask me, how do you deal with work-life balance? And I'll say, I like work-life harmony because if you're happy at home, you'll be better at work. If you're better at work, you'll be better at home. These things go together.
No trade-off.
It's not a strict trade-off. And it's true, I think, for exploration, but also determined execution. You just need to do both, and they actually do feed each other. It's the things that come out of the execution give you new data and new ideas about what the next step should be in your exploration. So the two things don't work against each other, they work together.
And how would you advise young founders in practical terms to be able to be in harmony with both?
The touchstone, the thing you always go back to, is those customer needs. So that's the only way that I could advise any founder or entrepreneur is to deeply understand what are the big ideas that their customers want. And you should ask them, ask your customers, but it's not sufficient. You also have to invent on their behalf. Because the biggest breakthroughs, the most important ideas, customers don't know to ask. They don't know to ask for those things. That's why
dream.
You have to dream, and you have to use your intuition and your gut and your heart. All of the data that gets used in business is essential. If you're in business and you're not looking at your data, trust me, your competitors are going to beat you. But if you're only looking at your data, you also will not win, or at least not win big. Because the most important decisions that every person makes when they're building something new is made with intuition. You cannot prove it, but you have an instinct and a hunch. And then you'll pay attention. If that turns out to be wrong, it won't be a big deal. You'll correct.